Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Call to Mothering. Today, I am talking about sibling rivalry. If you have more than one child, you are probably no stranger to sibling conflict, and it's probably something that you also deal with on a pretty regular basis. As moms, we want our children to get along. We want our families to be happy and thriving. Yet with the mix of different personalities and opinions and desires, all under one roof, conflict between siblings is inevitable. And sadly, fighting seems to be something that is as natural to kids as breathing. But that doesn't mean that we have to settle for it or that we are powerless to change it. We cannot control our kids' behaviors entirely, but what we can do is set better expectations and put certain things in place so that it makes it more attractive for our children to do the right thing. So today I want to give you 6 strategies that you can use to mediate sibling conflict and restore peace in your home. But before we get into that, please go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that notifications bell so that you know anytime I upload a new video. So now the first way to deal with sibling conflict is to encourage healthy versus unhealthy competition. Healthy competition is a good thing, and we want to encourage that in our children because otherwise, if there wasn't a little bit of healthy competition going on between people, nobody would ever compete for something. So that can serve our children well in the future when they are competing for in sports or in math or spelling competitions, or when they are going on a job interview. But what we don't want to encourage is unhealthy competition. And we foster this unhealthy competition when we compare one child to another in any regard. When we express disappointment that one of them didn't do something like their sibling, or when we also talk about them, we say that one child is more like us than another. And so most kids tend to store these comparisons internally, and they will do whatever it takes to be seen and heard, to be valued individually, even if that means acting out negatively. So we should be careful to avoid comparisons in the family setting so that we're not giving our kids a reason to one-up their brother or sister solely for attention seeking. Number 2 is treat them uniquely instead of equally. I believe that we should treat our kids equally with regards to their dignity and respect, treating them, with dignity and respect, no matter how troubling their behavior is. However, I don't believe in providing for their needs equally. What I mean by that is if one of my children needs a new pair of shoes, he gets it and his sister doesn't. We shouldn't feel compelled to purchase a necessity for one kid just because we bought it for another. However, if I'm treating one of my children, like I'm buying them ice cream, for example, then the other child will get it as well. Children compare themselves whether they are receiving everything their sibling gets, from love to possessions. And they may even complain, you only listen to him, or you love her better, or you bought her an outfit instead of me, and not for me. So we need to convince our kids that we are not trying to provide equally, but according to everyone's legitimate needs. If we always give our children according to their demands so that they are treated exactly the same, we won't ever be able to keep up. Likewise, when we insist that our children split a prize, or that one child split a prize with the others that they earned, just for the sake of fairness, we're teaching them that hard work is not necessary, and they will keep expecting to receive something, even if they didn't put in the hard work themselves. We're also missing an opportunity to teach the disappointed child to be content, to be happy for their sibling, that their sibling got an award or received something that they didn't. In real life, things aren't always fair, and we don't get a trophy just for showing up. So when our children know that their needs are met, it may just not be on exactly their timetable. But when our children know that their needs are met, when they're always met by us, then they feel safe and they learn to be satisfied. Just may not be according to their timetable or exactly when their sibling has a need met. Number 3 is encourage kids to take some space. It can be hard when a kid is expected to share their belongings and their space with someone else. But remember, just like adults, kids need their space too sometimes. This is especially important when they become overwhelmed and emotional. Encourage your kids to take some space by going to their room or a different part of the house when they look stressed. And you can usually pick up these signs pretty quickly. And you will prevent a sibling squabble even before it begins this way. Be aware of factors which are likely to cause stress and overwhelm for kids, such as hunger, irritability, and tiredness. It's a good idea to separate your kids from each other if you see one of them dealing with these variables. Sometimes I tell my oldest, your sister is feeling overwhelmed right now about her schoolwork. She's focusing really hard on this subject, so let's give her some space to figure it out. And that helps him learn how to be empathetic towards her and also understand her emotions, which will serve him wonderfully in the future. Just a quick pause to let you know that my parenting course is now on sale for a limited time. For only $25, you get access to principles, action steps, and video lessons that will help you turn your children's frustrating traits into strengths, as well as develop a consistent game plan to deal with discipline and start regaining a sense of pride and delight in your kids so that you can ultimately enjoy parenting again. You can get it with the link that I've included in the description below. Number 4 is apply appropriate discipline. Rivalry that is left unchecked can lead to arguing, fighting, and bickering between siblings and total frustration for you. So I would want to help you avoid those things as much as possible. Sometimes it's appropriate to let kids just kind of deal with their own arguments and learn to work out problems by themselves. However, when things escalate to the point of yelling or physical harm, it is time to step in. First, send your kids to separate rooms so that they can cool off before addressing the problem with them. You probably won't get anywhere when emotions are running high. Then discuss each kid's behavior with them separately instead of trying to figure out who started it. This will only put each of your kids on the defensive and make them feel like you are targeting one over the other. Plus, it's just not that important who started the fight. Regardless of who started it, it's likely that both children contributed to it. And so even if one child contributed only 10% to the conflict and the other one contributed 90%, they still share some of the fault. So ask each child what they did specifically that was wrong. What was their part that they contributed to the fight or the argument? And ask them why it was wrong. Then prompt them to think about what motivated them to act that way. Finally, end the conversation by talking about how they could do things differently next time. Number 5 is teach your kids how to handle conflict. We can do a lot to help siblings cope with the tension that arises inevitably between them. You can teach them the skills that are needed to solve conflicts peacefully. Conflict solving includes both the both methods to express anger and negotiation skills. Siblings don't fight necessarily because they don't love each other. It's just because they don't have the tools to deal with the conflict. They don't have the means necessarily to express anger appropriately. So you can tell them that the anger that they feel is valid, but it's not okay to lash out at one another. Teach them the following ways and techniques to express anger. Walk away from the scene, take a deep breath, count from 1 to 10, write down what they're angry about, express their hurt in words. They can also draw what they're feeling on a piece of paper if they can't write words yet. And they can also punch a pillow or a stuffed toy. So some negotiation skills that you can teach are taking turns, dividing tasks and objects, and trading toys so that each child benefits from their use. And finally, number 6 is acknowledge and empathize. Whenever a sibling fight happens and one child comes to you complaining, listen to him or her attentively, and don't rush to jump to conclusions. You also want to acknowledge all of his or her feelings. For example, if your kids were fighting over a toy, you can say, "Oh, he snatched your toy. That must be pretty hard. You must be feeling pretty upset about that." Don't reply with comments like, "He is always mean like that," or "Stop whining." Instead, describe the situation like this: "I see both of you want to play with the same toy right now. That's a tough situation. I'm sure that the two of you can work it out." And then remind them of the problem-solving skills that you taught them. Our role as parents in our children's sibling conflict is an extremely important one. We have the duty and the ability to guide our kids when they fight into more productive, healthy behavior. May we be vigilant to help them to see one another as instead of as enemies, but as God-given lifelong allies. I hope that this has been encouraging for you. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And remember, you are not just a mom.